about just selling these services that you provide a la carte, like so much to list, so much for that, because every business needs different things. Some businesses, they don't have their books right, and you need to help them with that. Some need more help than others. And that way you're not beholden to them if they change their mind at the last minute. All of a sudden they backed out, but if you're being paid for your services rather than just a percentage at the end, maybe there's a percentage at the end as well, but have any of you thought about doing that, or have you sold your services as a service, as like pay as you go, depending on the needs?
Become a consultant?
Yeah, basically.
Well, we are consultants, aren't we, to some extent? I mean, we do a lot of hand holding, but I think that's specialization though too, right? Can you do business valuations? Can you address weaknesses in a company's P&L or balance sheets? Can you consult on that level? And then you have to try and figure out, what they would. I've heard brokers do different things. So yes, you can. It just you have to figure out what it is that you're good at.
Because I watched
Yeah.
I watched David Barnett. He's a Canadian who I guess was a business broker and basically switched to that. And I kind of thought that sounded like a really good idea. As he says, you meet with them and you find out they're not really ready to sell. Maybe they want to sell, but their books aren't right, and they need to do, maybe they're running as a sole proprietor and they really need to form a corporation, and you're thinking, we need 6 months to make this business sellable and a bunch of work. And also, like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of liability in business brokering. I suppose technically, as you said, you'd be a consultant, and you actually don't, you're not going to be taking on that much liability as a consultant as you would as a broker, and you could just sell it as consulting.
Can I answer your question there, Adam? You can see all my gray hair here. I used to be a business consultant, and I decided not to be a business consultant. In fact, if someone comes along and says they want me to help them make their business better, hold on here, I gotta decline this call. They want me to help them make their business better. I said, well, that's not my job. And you kind of have to discover what your job is, I think, and your personality. I'm kind of, I want to help them do what they want to do if it's sell their business. That's all I'm doing. My website will say, I'm here to help you sell your business. That's all I'm going to do. You kind of have to know what you're doing. You have to decide what it is, pick your battles, I think. And if you want to do valuations and you want to help businesses in their taxes and you want to help businesses on that, you have to be a pretty good salesman too, remember?
Yeah.
And so it depends on what you like. It depends on who you are. You have to be very much of a self-starter to be successful in this business. I'll tell you that. No one's going to tell you what to do. You have to get up and do it. And so it depends on who you are, I think, a little. Not everyone's going to be a business broker, that's for sure. That's why there's less than 10,000 business brokers in the whole nation. And there's 85,000 real estate agents just in EXP alone. I mean, we're a rare breed, and if we can hold out, we can make good money because it's an underserved arena. There's at least 20 million businesses out there, the way I calculate, that are either thinking about selling or in the process of selling. And a lot of those are just closing their doors because they don't have anyone they haven't thought about selling and they don't know how to do it. And we might have to come along because we're listing agents. That's what we do. We list. I don't know if anyone's here is a seller or a buyer agent. I'm not. anyway, you
Yeah, I
know,
have to agree with you, Dick. I think there's a lot of people that specialize in different things. Like, there are some companies out there that just focus on enhancing, a company's bottom line where they're not ready to go yet to market. They probably need, consultation for 12, 24 months before they go to market. I don't do that. So, I mean, that would take a special niche, and a lot of my time to balance all that stuff out. So, yeah, but Adam, if you're good at what you do and you can provide that service in your market area, that's fantastic.
So I was really not thinking business consulting like to improve the business, but say it could be presented better. And like, for example, there was a tire shop for sale in my town, and I was actually looking at buying it. And he'd been running this as a sole proprietorship, taking cash, of course, and just running things like a sole proprietor, like your typical sole proprietor, but he'd done well, and he was doing upwards of $1 million in gross, and he couldn't step away because he didn't set it up to be able to step away. And when I first looked at it, I said, whether I buy it or not, you should at least incorporate so you can sell this entity as separate from yourself, and clean up your books and some other things that he just wasn't running professionally. And it wasn't to increase his sales or make his bottom line any better. It was just to make it more saleable. In the end, he didn't sell. He just closed his doors and left and got nothing for it. And
well, you just proved my point. And that's a lot, and we got